As one of the people behind the push for an expanded public comment period, Catherine Nadeau is the writer and Natural Resources Program Director for the Environmental Advocates of New York, and she is here. You've been here before, so thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And I feel this is important because we had someone from IOGA here last week, so we're interested in providing balance. Why is 180 days better than 60 days from the Environmental Advocates position?
Well, basically, the Department of Environmental Conservation is going to be coming out with this draft report. It's a revised draft of a report that's going to guide how drilling will unfold in New York State if the governor allows this to go forward.
Right.
And so it's a big technical document. This is going to be over 1,000 pages. This is something that the state has spent a couple of years putting together with their technical experts. And so for two reasons. First, technical experts from across the state and country are going to be looking at this very closely for what this may mean for on-the-ground development. They need the opportunity to really get into this deep. And secondly, because if gas drilling goes forward as it's been proposed in the state, people of New York are going to be living with this day in and day out for decades to come.
You can't undo it, right? You can't undo it.
Exactly.
So even if, in fact, so not to say that pro or anti-drilling, but if, in fact, they go forward, there will be some impact, and then subsequently, if it's stopped, that impact will still need to be mitigated.
Absolutely.
Right. So you can't undo what's already done.
You can't. And New Yorkers deserve the opportunity to really get into this draft, to understand what's in there, and to weigh in with the state. Because, again, like you said, there's not any going back.
So I have actually tried to read the original document. Mm-hmm. Do you think that an average person, and I'm sorry, I can't understand it. I'll just confess. Forgive me. I know that you're trained to do it, but do you think that average people are really going to be able to make heads or tails of this 1,000-page thing that we're going to be seeing?
I think that, yes, I think a lot of them are, because people all across the state have gotten engaged on this issue in a way that we haven't seen in decades on any environmental issue. They know that this is coming to their communities if it's allowed to go forward, and they know that the way that it's going to go forward is going to be dictated by this document. So yes, people, average New Yorkers, really have jumped into this and jumped in feet first.
So then we don't know when this is going, the 60-day public comment period is going to be starting. We think it's going to be soon.
Yes, the state has said that they're going to come out with this revised draft at the end of summer, and that the public comment period will begin once that revised draft is out, but we don't have an exact date.
And just to, I know that people have probably heard this before, but just to walk people through this, what's the timelines? Let's just assume you do get the 180 days, or you get some verisimilitude of that. What happens?
So then after the comment period closes, the state is going to take all the comments that it received. It's going to go back and work those into the document and come out with a final document. That could take on the order of a month or two. That could take many months. It's unclear at this point. And then the state could, at that point, go forward with permitting once this document is final. Or there could be legal interventions. There could be litigation over this that could slow things down. The state could decide to go forward with a regulatory proceeding, actually putting some of these recommendations into regulations, which would have a public process tied to it as well. So there are a number of paths at this point. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure book. We're going to see how the state decides to play this out, and the citizens of New York want to weigh in. They've made this very, very clear, so they need the 180 days, the opportunity to really do that.
We had Mr. Holbrook in from IOGA, from the Gas Association, and we asked him to come in to comment on a poll that found that New Yorkers were largely in favor. And so I would ask that you respond to that, just to provide the other side.
Well, this poll that just came out, it showed that there is a small margin who are in favor. Yep. It wasn't a very big divide at all.
No, it is not. Nope.
And I would also say that this is the first one in a series of polls that has shown even that New Yorkers favor fracking. All the other polls preceding it showed that environmental concerns, water concerns, and community concerns have all weighed on the minds of New Yorkers far more than moving forward with fracking. So, this is one poll. We'll see how this is going forward. But what's very, very clear is that this is something that New Yorkers are following. It's something they're following closely, and they want the time to weigh in on the process as this unfolds.
Dennis thought that it was because people are getting more information. I mean, obviously this is a pro-industry spin, but as people get more information, they're feeling more comfortable. Do you think a sufficient amount of information has been put out there to the public that they really know what they're getting into? Obviously, that comes back to this whole question of the public comment period, so people have time to read and understand, if they so choose, this voluminous document that's coming out. Right. Hopefully, I'm hoping you guys do it for me, but there you go.
Well, we will be digging into it very
Do you
deeply.
feel like there has been a sufficient, like for example, has the administration been sufficiently putting out sufficient information? I know the environmental community has, obviously, but do you believe that that's what's moving this, that people are getting more comfortable with the idea?
Again, this was one poll, so I don't think that we can draw too many conclusions based on a single poll. This may reflect any number of different things, how the questions were asked, who was asked, all sorts of things. But what we do know is that almost every week there's more information coming out about the costs of fracking, the environmental costs, the community costs, the water costs. Just last week, for example, a subcommittee advisory panel for the Department of Energy came out with a report that said very clearly that there are severe environmental concerns that need to be looked at, need to be addressed, that we need better regulations nationwide to control for fracking. And so, you know, this is just another piece of information coming out, again, saying that, yes, this is going to have very severe implications and that those need to be carefully considered before any drilling is allowed to begin.
You are, obviously what you're getting at here is that New York is not taking place in a vacuum. There are many states that are looking at this, there are national implications. How significant is this decision that is going to be made by the Cuomo administration about fracking in the Marcellus Shale in terms of impacting on a national level?
All eyes are on New York right now. I mean, we're in a very interesting and very good position because the state at the beginning of this decided that we need to take a pause, look at our laws, our rules, our regulations, make changes that are needed before any drilling is allowed to begin of this type. And so we're in the unique situation right now of studying and working on our rules before allowing this type of drilling to begin. And this is an industry that plays fast and loose with the rules. This is an industry that has caused severe contamination across the country. And we know that, again, once it moves forward, there's no undoing it. So we need to take the time right now to really get into these implications and to provide for any mitigation before it moves forward.
Just in saying that in closing, I mean, clearly you guys and the green community, generally speaking, has an opinion about this industry. The industry has an opinion about itself.
Of course.
It thinks that the rules, that as they stand now, that the DEC is going to be capable of policing this industry in New York, perhaps better than other states. Perhaps because of what you're saying, that before we started drilling here, if in fact we do, that we got in line a series of rules and regulations that would protect the environment. Do you think that it's possible to do this in a way that the environmental community would be okay with?
I don't know, but what I can't, you know, I don't have a crystal ball. Like we said, there's more information coming out about this every week. But what we do know is what's being proposed right now isn't sufficient, and that the state doesn't have the resources to enforce any of the proposed rules, essentially. The Department of Environmental Conservation, who would be tasked with overseeing drilling in the state, has lost about 20% of its workforce over the last 4 years. That's humongous. And the type of drilling that is being proposed, at the scale it's being proposed, the DEC just can't handle it at this point. So right now, no, I don't think it can proceed safely in New York.
Okay, so obviously baby steps, we're moving towards some kind of public comment period here. We're waiting for this report to come out. We'll be talking to you again, I'm sure. In the interim, I want to thank you very much, Catherine Nadeau, for coming in.
Thank you.